Hello, everybody. How you doing? Okay? It's so nice to be here with you on this beautiful November evening in Tucson. I'm scanning the crowd, and it's like a commercial for down jackets, which means we're in Tucson, and it's a little chilly. But I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for coming to be warmed up by what this will be. And we're really excited to have this crowd here tonight on a Thursday night at the Poetry Center in April and National Poetry Month, which we can applaud, for two terrific poets that have been heartbeats of what poetry has been in this state for a long time. And so it's a great gift to be able to present both of them together tonight here in Tucson at the Poetry Center. They're both great friends, so it's a delight from that perspective, but their work extends far beyond in ways that we're thrilled to be presenting here at the Poetry Center. So please, I'll introduce them shortly, but a round of applause and welcome to Alison Deming and Sally Ball. If we haven't met, my name is Tyler. I work as the director here at the Poetry Center. I'm glad you're here. I want to tell you about some things that are coming up at the Poetry Center after this program, so you can have them on your radar, be thinking about coming back to see us. It will probably be warmer for all of these, so just so you know. On April 10th, the next reading that's happening in the Poetry Center is with the poet Robert Pinsky, former U.S. Poet Laureate. We're thrilled that that's happening. So that's back here at 7 o'clock on April 10th here at the Poetry Center. On the 19th, if there are small humans in your life, children ages 0 to 10, or even 12, we have a program called Kids Create that we do every semester. This Kids Create is on April 19th. It's a Saturday. It'll be from 10 to noon. There's writing workshops, there's music, there's snacks, all the good things that one needs to have a good time. Writing, music, snacks, that's like a good time. So that's happening from 10 to noon here at the Poetry Center. It becomes a kid-centric space. The library gets turned over to the kids that are here. We're really excited about that. Hope you might come back for that if there are such humans in your life. Children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, etc. Then on May 1st, we have one of our last readings in the series, and that's with the translator Natasha Wimmer. And we're really excited about this. How many people know Natasha Wimmer? You're in for a good look. Please come. You're going to be excited. So Natasha's a great translator from the Spanish, translates fiction. This is one of a collaboration with the MFA Program and their Distinguished Visiting Writers series. And so Natasha has translated the Nobel laureate Mario Vargas Llosa's. She's translated the Chilean novelist Roberto Bolaño, and then most recently the Mexican novelist Alvaro Enrique's book, You Dreamed of Empires, which was the 2024 New York Times 10 Best Books of the Year. We're really thrilled that she'll be here. That will likely be a somewhat bilingual reading, and we're so excited for Natasha's presence in Tucson and for her practice as one of the leading translators in the country. We do have some books for sale this evening, but we don't have all of them, and this is a regret. An error was made in getting Sally's books here on time, so we want to make sure that you know that there'll be book sales afterwards. If you're interested in that work, Sally's books are on the QR codes that are right here, and then other books are for sale over on the table on my right. And I know that both authors would love to speak with you afterwards. We're going to forego a Q&A, but come up and talk to the poets after we're done this evening. Lastly, the very terrific poet, essayist, scientist, Catherine Larson, was slated to come and introduce both of these poets, and she has lots of affinity and affection for both of them. She has had a family emergency, so she's not able to be here tonight. She did send me the introductions that she had prepared, so I will be giving a very D- version of Catherine Larson. And if you know Catherine, you know how poorly I'm going to be doing what she would do. She's terrific, and so she has a new book coming out this summer that we'll have more about that we're excited to support here at the Poetry Center. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Sally Ball to read first and Alison Deming to read second. So it is a great pleasure. And again, this is Catherine Larson. So imagine someone much more exciting than me up here speaking. A great pleasure to welcome and introduce Sally Ball, a luminary poet, director of the creative writing program at ASU, so just up the road, an associate director of Four Way Books, an independent press that's based in New York City. Ball is the author of the celebrated poetry collections Rec Me, Annus Mirabilis, selected by Ellen Bryant Voigt as winner of the Barrow Street Press Poetry Prize. Her poems have appeared in many journals. She's the recipient of fellowships from the Arizona Commission on the Arts, Breadloaf Writers Conference, Chemic Art Center, James Merrill House, and the U-Cross Foundation. Ball's poetry exposes the dissonances in language's music and meaning in profound and unexpected ways. Her work invites us to consider not just what is said, but how it is said, and what is left unsaid. Formal and fragmented, intimate and expansive, her work delves into the complexities of the human experience, vulnerability, and the beauty found in imperfection. Her most recent collection, Hold Sway, showcases the breathtaking possibilities of the lyric poem, roaming from explorations of identity, memory, and the subtle intersections of personal and public life. The poems of Hold Sway are fiercely uncompromising in their demand to uncover and interrogate, and to invest in language. Ball's stunning ingenuity lies in the way she captures the mind at work, its turbulence and clarity, its leaps and arrivals. That's dead on. That's exactly right. Take these lines from her first book. Take these lines from her first poem in the book. This is from Hold Sway, and the poem is called Armistice Day. And the riverbank goes dark, the bridge goes dark, everything melts into nothing save the light that faces itself, as if it had come to an understanding, as if it were listening to logic. The poem's allegiance is to the framing and reframing of possibilities. In what ways can light face itself? How does light come to an understanding? How does light listen to logic? The compression of the lyric requires us to consider such multiplicities, even as it reveals the conceit that it is the singular mind that's creating them. Natalie Diaz has said of Sally Ball's poems, "Somewhere in all of Ball's unmade and unmaking is a space where we might find ourselves again, or even for the first time." We are lucky to find ourselves in this space tonight, to experience Sally Ball's singular mind and the dazzling spectrum of her poems. Please help me welcome my friend Sally Ball.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this chilly desert night. It's really a thrill and an honor to be here to read with Alison, to be the guest of the Poetry Center, and I'm just very, very happy to be here. The first poem that I'm going to read is called I Just Checked. We live 2,676 miles apart. I checked as we were talking, two sisters, one busy caller from the car, signal strength always rising and falling as if heavy weather or buffering, or maybe just like breath, like intimacy itself. Smack in the middle of a story or a medical report or Lyme statistics or falling aunts on ancient porches, her voice vanishes, and I check for disconnection, but see our unspooling seconds, the silence just a glitch. Then there she is, further into the story. The aunt revived, the dog safe from toxic grapes. The tally of seconds still racks up. Someone, something is counting, keeping track. Not me so much. Wastrel of days, not even sure if I tuned out or lost her. Wastrel of our bond sometimes. Forgive me. I never mean to lose the thread. A hidden series of ones and zeros measures off our time together. And sometimes I watch it roll while I also do listen, am listening, my mind torn between how fast it's gone, mesmerizing hourglass of bits, and what she's telling me about a man whose mind is actually dying. Faster and faster. Her new husband. Too soon, too young. I am feeling their helplessness and grief and my sister's lonely, heavy lift, and also thinking how my son calls me the sieve, since I come up short when he asks if I remember, what, a movie scene, a crucial college tete-a-tete. I can't right now recall an actual example of something he has sought from his mother made of mesh. I'm still picturing my sister's car on some twisty forest road, numbly aware of all that's passing through me, insufficiently absorbed. My son also sent some stats about how much time a mom and son can reasonably expect to spend together if they meet, say, 3 times a year, holidays and visits, and how many books we each have left if we, slow readers both, read 10 or 12 per year. I want to just collapse my attention onto the story coming from that many miles away, even though I'm afraid of it. I want more than my likely 200-ish, if we're lucky, days with her, my remaining 35 weeks face-to-face with my own kids, dotted here and there across the actuarial table. Should the Irish thriller in the bedroom really be one of my last 300 books? How many letters will I write? How many almond cakes, intracoastal waterways? How many, if any, grandkid hours? Her voice wavers, naming what today is more lost than even yesterday, her sweetheart's face riven by knowing what he's losing. Her headlong presence in the fight for him, his best last days or years, uncountable, unkeepable. Her keeping watch, keeping up, well past when he can tell. Her voice is and reassembled by the grid, or no, the electromagnetic field. And it comes here so almost exactly like it would if she were sitting on the couch right next to me. I press my cheek into her ether cheek, though of course she doesn't feel. What even is it? Glass caress. So today I got to do a fantastic thing. I went to the Mirror Lab and had a tour of the lens facility underneath the football stadium. And I've been wanting to do this since 2018 when I went to visit the European Southern Observatory in Chile and some telescopes there. And Susan Brianti told me about the Mirror Lab. And so anyway, today we went there together and with Sarah Sams, Tucson poet. It was so interesting and wonderful. But I'm going to read you 2 poems that come from my trip to the observatories in the desert, in the other desert. In the desert near Antofagasta, Chile. Tailings ponds are those green neon rectangles, tight adjacent pools of toxins sloughed from Middle Earth, their geometric neatness like a Pantone strip, electric lime, unlucky lark, primavera, artichoke. You may have seen them from above in photographs, the effusions of the Atacama mines, lithium plus pus. From the searest, barrenest stretch of all the earth, we light our handheld stars. And yeah, in a kind of clever counterpoint, the closest other industry vaults into the sky, the VLT, Very Large Telescope, and coming soon, extremely large. These astrophysicists, they put their tongues into their cheeks, a little smug that their work is just as hard to do as mineralogists, but optimistic. All curiosity and awe, above the cynics of the mines. Guzman's Nostalgia for the Light is a movie that will send your brainy heart into the basement of your chest. Widows, mothers, sifting that same desert for fragments of bones from Pinochet's camps. Is this calcified scrap a human scrap? They work, coincidentally, alongside archaeologists whose job is in situ prehistoric human artifacts. And the movies from the 2010s, the observatories are also going up right there, neighborhood of scoping out the past. A half century or 10 millennia or all the way. Big bang. Guzman seems to hope that we deserve the sky. Definitions of addiction, doing something even when you know it's bad for you. A disease, not a moral question. Anyway, still a matter of choice. And it takes enormous will to reverse course, like choosing to divorce, or join the Paris Accords, or not shoot up, not scroll. Someone figured out how to use, then scale to millions, all this lithium, for batteries, mostly though trace amounts for mental health. Batteries. Metal articles wrought by hammering is what a battery first was. Resource used to mean to rise again, recover, by the way. The astronomers must know about the desert ponds, etched into crusty veils below their own search for wherever's next, all those metal necks craned up. Or maybe, like their tools, the astronomers look only up. Imagination resigning itself to the common task, give us something new. Deep in the mantle, deep in the Milky Way. When I visited the Very Large, I took its picture with my phone. So when I went there, I was actually going to visit a new set of telescopes. They're called speculos, like the cookie. The same astronomers who did the TRAPPIST telescopes that discovered the planets orbiting a dwarf star at the right amount of distance for life to perhaps exist, right? Just close enough to their star that water could exist. So they had made this discovery. They had found it because of eclipses, which is sort of amazing, and I was very fascinated by them. So I wrote to them, and anyway, I got myself invited down to the new telescopes, Speculos, and the 4 telescopes that are part of the Speculos group are all named for Jupiter's moons. Speculos itself is the search for habitable planets, eclipsing ultra-cool stars, or speculoos. The telescopes at Cerro Paranal near Antofagasta, each telescope is named after a moon of Jupiter: Callisto, Europa, Ganymede, and Io. And speculos are also these Belgian cookies. They have a hint of cinnamon, no data. The team that runs the telescopes is from the University of Liège, and I have poems for each of the scopes, but I'm going to read the first one, Callisto. Callisto was one of those virgin huntresses sworn to celibate retreat. For her, Jove disguised himself as a virgin huntress too, voluptuous and armed. Then he took her by surprise. Callisto, the most heavily cratered object in the solar system. So says NASA. In the story, the trouble is Jove's wife, wrathy Juno, who uglies Callisto into a bear, all clumsy slobber, claws, and grunts. And then, to save her from a huntsman's coming arrow, Jove must hurl her into the sky. Not merely moon, she's also Ursa Major. And an asteroid, 204 Callisto with a K. In fact, tomorrow, according to inthesky.org, I'll see that asteroid from my own celibate retreat, the patio, before it's lost to dawn twilight around 5:43, 37 degrees above your southern horizon. I didn't have to tell them where I am. The web is like the gods. They see me sitting here, latitude north 33 degrees, etc., and longitude west 111 degrees, etc., and even altitude so un-Olympian 415 meters. I would not let her be a human being, Juno says, in fury at herself. What is she now? A goddess, Juno says. Yeah, with 3 dominions, as moon, as dipper bear, and asteroid to boot. Then too, Callisto is encryption tech for victims of sexual assault, hosting an incident list where women report what happened, then also match with others harmed by the same perpetrator. All the moons and more, Danae, Alcmena, Cassiopeia, Leda. And she is a video game, Callisto Protocol, and bars in Arkansas and Texas, classic cocktails, a publisher of books on the history of graphic design, an herbicide controlling broadleaf weeds in fields of corn, okra, sorghum, sugarcane. The net ensnares, and it unselves. I say that as if it had a mind and were decisive, though I know the way it dissipates intent, like ones and zeros, like the girl Jove was just long enough to get Callisto's mother's maiden name, her favorite color, and first pet, you know, to put her at her ease. This poem is called Neck and Neck, and it's a poem that I sort of like to read at a university because it came out of conversations with students about unfortunate ambiguities, like the kind of ambiguity that invites a misreading. And so anyway, the first line of the poem is italicized, and then ambiguity presents itself. Cranes, well, neck and neck. Cranes in the sky. Sandhill or Derrick Tower? Thomas Derrick was a gallows architect and executioner, 3,000 persons. He took up this work in lieu of being put to death himself for rape, and eventually he beheaded the very earl who'd pardoned him, pardoned here meaning let him live as death. 3 full strokes of the heading axe. The Earl of Essex had essayed a coup against Elizabeth, sought, they said, to depose and slay. Sandhills wear a scarlet cap, well, more Venetian mask or hood, from which emerge their steely amber eyes. They mate for life. Sometimes their lives last 37 years. I have a pendant necklace, sterling birds bent beak to beak, a heart-shaped space between their arcing necks. I've never found a photo of such mawkishness. It must be all the jeweler's vision of true love. Still, they are good birds, unmurderous. This is a poem, it's about that summer when there was such a heat wave in the Pacific Northwest that the water got really, really warm and sort of inhospitable to life. It's called Die Off Vancouver. The heat wave killed, baked the mussels in the shallow Pacific tides. Peace, mussel, metaphors, I guess, offering up ironic wince, real grief. Our longings in conflict with each other leave us stink. Withered sea star with your broken purple arms or points. No one intended this, and mostly no one sees what even happened. Our imaginations hardly bother. You could be a cookie lying there, photographed not on a beach, but in a pastry case. Delicacy, intimacy, apostasy, MC, lega, pyra, phala, immediate. This last poem, I realize I have a lot of birds. It's the last bird poem. It's called Wildlife. Of course, my sister noticed the owl in the road and that it was alive, injured, not dead, wounded by a truck, probably, having swooped, focused on vole or frog, and somehow then was grazed, or worse, not crushed, left, flightless. She collected it, called the owl people, delivered him, male, they said, to see what they, with their deft, discerning hands, could do. No fractures, they told her, but damage to both eyes. My sister called the maximum allowable number of follow-up times, each requiring a donation towards rescue in general, though quickly they let her bypass the paywall, a kindness. My sister, whose husband today, for the first time, was baffled, illegible, unsure how to sign a check, who also just asked her to mark his shoes, L and R, as they've been hurting his feet. My sister, whose best friend's husband died last weekend, accidentally skiing into a tree. My stunned sister, the seer-through of beloveds, noticed the owl undone in the road. She placed him in a box, drove him to another state, Maine. She's the dinner deliverer for widowed Beth Ann, and apparently now also on it goes for her, funeral planner for some other guy, her husband's uncle, I think. Interment, insurance, proxies, doctors, attorneys in fact, safety, and Sharpies, and lunch. Never an hour of solitude. 3 weeks the owl was nursed and observed, his eyes deep in an eddy of beige brindled feathers, onyx irises taking a rest. if he knew he was safe. His narrow beak like a petal of forsythia. She'd said he was the size of a rugby ball, a sport played Sundays on the field beside the road where he was hit, where my sister and her husband sometimes walk. Then the owlists invited her to come back and to release him. For their feeds, they made an inspirational video, though little did they know. She holds that owl like a catcher's mitt, a bride's bouquet. His speckled back against her stomach, he directs an implacable look at the world or into the camera. His legs, I realize, are tucked, or more than that, constrained in her work-gloved hands. Well, long handler's gloves that protect her forearms, her wrists. She stands in a snowy, open field. There are old footprints there, filled in by later snows. And then she gently boosts her arms and opens them, and out and up he goes, enormous, extended, her face soft with joy. I watch it over and over. Yes, the shocking wingspan, talons, muscly legs. He pumps through what might have been a stumble dip, and then all flight. She loves him in his winter tree. Thanks.
Sally, thank you so much. So great. Okay, picture Catherine Larson again. It's a great pleasure to welcome up and introduce our friend Alison Hawthorne Deming, the award-winning poet, nonfiction writer, naturalist, and champion of the Poetry Center here at the University of Arizona. A Guggenheim Fellow, Deming has 2 books of poetry that are just out and for sale over here. The Gift of Animals, Poems of Love, Loss, and Connection, and the poetry collection Blue Flax and Yellow Mustard Flower. Her other poetry collections include Stairway to Heaven, Death Valley, Painted Light, Genius Loci, The Monarchs, a Poem Sequence, and Rope. Her nonfiction books include A Woven World on Fashion, Fishermen, and the Sardine Dress, Zoologies on Animals and the Human Spirit, and Temporary Homelands, as well as The Edges of the Civilized World, which was a finalist for the Penn Center West Award, and Writing the Sacred into the Real from Milkweed's Credo series. Her work has earned numerous awards, including fellowships from the MacDowell Colony, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Arizona Commission on the Arts. The latter 2, both agencies that we hope will continue to exist into the future. Tonight, she'll read from her latest collection, Blue Flax and Yellow Mustard Flower. Deming's poems are a poignant homage to scientific curiosity and the deft musicality of language, stretching from the mind to the cosmos, intimate pandemic meditations to impassioned letters to America, prose poems to the Spanish Decima, demonstrating a dazzling formal and imagistic virtuosity. In this collection, we journey through diverse worlds, from the beady-skinned iguanas of the Galapagos to the post-funeral memorials of Fidel in Havana, from Merwin's hidden sanctuary of forgotten trees to Neil Armstrong's recorded heartbeat as his foot touches the silky powder of the moon's surface. One of the epigraphs of Blue Flax and Yellow Mustard Flower is taken from Bruno Latour's Down to Earth. And Latour says, this is a quote, "All that counts is understanding whether you are managing to register, to maintain, to cherish a maximum number of alternative ways of belonging in the world." End quote. In this collection, Deming does just that, using poetry's plurality to invite readers to see belonging as an active, intentional act of attention, care, questioning, resistance, elegy, and celebration. Her poems are as at home in the earthy darkness of an island plagued by invasive leopard slugs as they are with the Athenian cats basking in the ruins of antiquity, or the glassy protocolled space of the American embassy in Madrid surrounded by armed guards. Belonging is everywhere, Deming's poems seem to argue, just as they demonstrate how to carry the generative space of inquiry to all places and beings. Please help me welcome our friend, Alison Hawthorne Deming.
Thank you, Catherine. I treasure our friendship, both Catherine and Tyler. And Sally, treasure the chance to be able to read with you tonight. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Of course, I adore the Poetry Center and all of you who've been part of the life of this place for so very long. And I'm delighted to celebrate these two books with you tonight. I'm going to start by reading a few poems from this amazingly beautiful anthology, which has artwork from the Colombian artist Daniela Gallego. And it's organized into 7 sections, each of which speaks to a type of connection that we have with the animal world. So praise, lament, companionship, fear and vulnerability, the least among us, the sacred, and the future of animals. I'll just read a few poems just to invite you into this collection. And it is called The Gift of Animals for 2 reasons. Animals are gifts to our life, and I hope you will give this book as a gift because it's very beautiful. So I'd like to read a poem by Ada Limon, of course, our current U.S. Poet Laureate. And I'd like to dedicate this poem to the women in the honors class that Sally and I visited, who are all STEM women and working on launching their minds and intelligence into the world. How to triumph like a girl. I like the lady horses best, how they make it all look easy, like running 40 miles an hour is as fun as taking a nap or grass. I like their lady horse swagger after winning. Ears up, girls, ears up. But mainly, let's be honest, I like that they're ladies, as if this big, dangerous animal is also a part of me, that somewhere inside the delicate skin of my body, there pumps an 8-pound female horse heart, giant with power, heavy with blood. Don't you want to believe it? Don't you want to lift my shirt and see the huge beating genius machine that thinks, no, it knows it's going to come in first? Thank you, Ada. So, of course, in the section on companionship, there are poems about our pets, cats and dogs and all that, and there's a poem about javelinas out in the desert, but I wanted you to hear this wonderful poem, if I can find it. Yeah, the book is just out, by Jose Hernandez Diaz. And it's a poem about the owl. Thank you for bringing them into the room for me. Tecolote. The Mexican word for owl is tecolote, from the Nahuatl, tecolotl. I think it sounds beautiful in both languages, both of my origins. My favorite bird is the tecolote. The way it sits in the tree, wise, insomniac, alone. Only company is rain. At night it comes alive, a little moon, a myth, a continent of leaves. At midnight, the tecolote transforms into a jaguar, into a python, into a dragon. When I was younger, my mom used to tell me I was like a tecolote because I would stay up late to watch Letterman or Conan O'Brien. Then as a teenager, I was a tecolote because I would go out late with friends and party. Now, at 35, I'm getting a tattoo of a tecolote on my forearm, reminder of my childhood, my ancestry, the night. Gracias, tecolote, protector of moon and sky. Another poet who spent some time in Tucson, is studying here in his early days, was Mark Doty. Here's a sweet poem. Also a poet of Provincetown. I know I've got some Provincetown, Mass friends here. So here's Mark for you. This is called Little Mammoth. Mother's milk in my belly, and a little of her shit too, so that I might eat of the sour green steppes that opened endlessly before me. Though not long after, I slid into sunlight and the grass world, I slid again into the mudslide and screaming, sucked clay into my trunk, till I lay on the bottom, my milk tusks not even sprouted, a sweet undercoat of fat ready for my first winter. And I am still 1 month old and 40,000 years without my mother. All right, 2 more, and then I'll read from my book. This wonderful poet, Vivi Francis, African-American poet. I just adore her poems. She has 2 poems in this book. And because we're getting close to Easter, I'd like to read you this poem. Like Jesus to the crows that gathered along his arms upon the invitation of a slender limb, and not oblivious to human violence, perhaps needed rest or needed to offer the succor of presence, despite the stiff collar of their feathers, despite each one being no less the children of a father who claimed an upper realm. It is not true they pecked his eyes, nor did they consider his wounds their own. They were neither irreverent nor quiet. They spoke in the tongues they knew. They cawed full-voiced and would have released him from his bindings had their beaks held the power and had there been time in that place. Like them, I have sought comfort and so be comforted. Like them, I have seen the failure of miracles when they were most needed. Like him, I have called upon those so unlike myself when my Father failed to answer. One more from this book before my poems, and that's from the lovely Anne Marie McDonnell, who lives over in New Mexico. The Swimmers. After all the wolves on the island were killed by cyanide, traps, and bullets, decades later, wolves from the mainland swam for miles to repopulate the island. By dream, by twitch, by lope, by gazing from the shore, by howls that gather, by circle and whine, by hint, rumor, and surge, by yearn, nip, and bark, by stretch, itch, and shake, by splash, dunk, and swim by starlight, by bull kelp and driftwood, by calm and gelatinous sea, by stink of whale, by salt of far, by winter fur, by paws as paddles, by chuff and nostril huff, by steam of breath above the sea, by belly of salmon, by hunger for deer, by memory in blood, by Rome for love, by milk and teat, by marrow and fat, by muscle, skull, and golden eyes, by magnetic pull, by currents and tides, by miles, by sinking cold, with no one watching, by sea, by sea, by sea. Here's to the spirit of the wolves. There's so many treasures in this book. With great joy, and I think Jeremy's here, Jeremy Hensley, was my editorial assistant, helped me so much in finding poems and new poets and in formatting the manuscript. Mwah. Love and gratitude, my friend. So, blue flax and yellow mustard flower. I have no idea how I'm doing on time. I'm not going to go Cory Booker on you, but man, it's tempting. It is tempting. So I took one of my grandsons to the Galapagos Islands, the other I took to the Peloponnesian Peninsula, and there's a sequence of poems from the Galapagos. I'll read two of these poems. A lot of these poems I wrote, as Catherine suggested, during COVID when I couldn't go anywhere, and I realized I've gone a lot of places. It's time to write those poems. So this is from the Galapagos. Iguana. And you know, the iguanas adapted there because there wasn't much to eat on the land, and so they became capable of feeding in the water on algae and various plant organisms in the water. So these marine iguanas are astonishing if you haven't seen them. Iguana. Oh, sure. One or two beady-headed monsters, ridge-backed, long-clawed, blunt-headed, might have made it floating from Ecuador on a broken tree limb. But how to explain thousands upon thousands queued up in group salutes to the sun, or lying together by dozens, disguised as rocks, to spoon one spiny claw draped over the shoulder of another. And then they wake, scurry in waddling gait to water's edge, dive and swim, gleaning seaweed off underwater rock. Adapted, we say, like novel to movie. From land feeders to marine machines. No predatory neighbors. It's just one long beach party. A sea lion or two lumbering up to sleep on the sand. Good friends, says the guide, about every living thing, though, of course, eating is a factor. Shark takes sea lion pup. Hawk takes turtle egg. Flightless cormorants are the norm, hanging out micro wings to dry. They gave up building big wings. So easy was the catch along shore. In time, their prey will learn to fear. But now the immigrants make it look easy to inhabit a place that never before was home. New land, no springs, no rivers, just every organism's joy to thrive. Fins. Imposters in the water. We look ridiculous. But who's watching us? Plastic fins and masks, false skin zipped on to protect from cold, pallid faces down on the platter of the sea. We are nothing like the orange anemone glued to rock wall, combing the slosh with its, tentacles? But then again, the anemone is an animal pretending to be a plant. The sea lion is a mammal pretending to be a fish. The marine iguana, a lizard pretending to be an eel. Parrotfish, surgeonfish, sergeant major, harlequin wrasse, fakers all, or so our words would make them. Because we can't quite believe the luck to be a thing with eyes, looking at anything else with eyes. Can't quite bear the weight of our terrestrial burden. So we float and kick, heads down, imagining what we might have been or will become. So one of the poets that I adore, as I adore many, many poets, was W.S. Merwin, who was a great influence to me. And when he died, I wrote 2 poems for him, and I read one of them at Antigone's a week or 2 ago, and I'll read the other one tonight. So I had the great privilege of hosting him when he came here to read in Tucson several times, and I even had one of the most beautiful nights of my life, a dinner party for him and Gerald Stern at my house. Unbelievable. This is from that night. It's called The Trowel. One day in the city, there was someone on my porch who had never been there before, someone who had written against war and for rain in the trees. Someone who had asked the earth what it needed to flourish after having been ripped raw, the marketplace for other ways of being. Someone had greeted the loquat tree in my backyard with quiet respect and admiration as I had greeted him and the books that had become a terrarium for me, little locusts of beauty to counter the decay that seems so rank but makes soil capable of invention. I could say he was compost to what I might hope to grow. After dinner, he saw the trowel resting on the crimson concrete of my porch. "That's a good trowel," he said. "The best trowel comes from," and exacting as he was, he named the catalog. So I have a lot of sequences which are impossible to read at an event like this, but one of the sequences is called Field Studies, and it comes from Grand Manan Island in the Canadian Maritimes, where I've spent summers since I was a child. A few of the students have been there for our Field Studies program and had the opportunity to go out to Kent Island, which is a research station for Bowdoin College, and encounter the Leach's storm petrels. So I think I'll read you two of the poems about Leach's storm petrels. This is a very small pelagic bird. It digs a burrow in the forest where it nests. Otherwise, it lives entirely at sea. It's a pelagic bird. And it's a remarkable little bird. And the parents, they're pair bonded, and they'll raise their chick in this burrow, taking turns to fly as far as like 500 miles. They'll fly as far as Cape Cod to get the krill and the fat resources to bring in for the little baby chick in the burrow until it's grown. So I'm going to read you two of these poems. I'm absolutely in love with this marvelous little bird, which of course is endangered, and our grandchildren probably will never get to meet one. Navigation of the Leach's storm petrel. Science wanted to know what they knew. Sooty little tube-nosed ocean runner, fork-tailed forest burrower, night wanderer, transient in the sweet musk of woods. How do they find their way? What's their sense of place? Do they know a sense of belonging when they return from a year at sea to breed in the forest where they hatched? Or is it just work to repair the burrow? They stagger around at night on forest paths. They don't understand the land, though they need it. A man who studied the colony for half a century took some petrels to Ireland to see if they could find the way back. First bird returned before the man did. Was it 9 days or 13? Do the numbers matter? When the bird just knew, its inner compass reading longitude and latitude, skirting open ocean swells to arrive where it knew it should be. Petrel chick. What did I know? Lying in the darkness where I had hatched. At first, I loved the smell of loam, musk, the dampness of the underneath. Then came a fishy scent, though what did I know of fish? Bill to bill, my lunch was served. I had no control over where I lived, when or what I ate, but sufficient to my status as a puff of proto-feathers, the meals kept tunneling down from the spot of light at burrow's end. I knew to raise my mouth to what arrived. I had no idea what I was or what I was meant to be. Ridiculous, I know, that I should have a voice. Sleep and eat and roll over in the earth and dark, that was life, until I grew so blubbered I could barely turn in my sleep. I squeezed out of that earth hold when I caught the open ocean scent that told me I had wings and I was gone into sea-spangled spume and sky. I'd like to take you to a dinner in Spain. I was invited to do a keynote for the American Association of Spanish, the Spanish Association of American Studies, and true to Spanish style, there was a very wonderful late-night dinner, and there's some political overtones here that might speak to some of us. This is called The Wolves. A man told me this story at the conference dinner, big round table with talk of books, much wine, queso y jamón to start. We shared an elegant salad meant to be shared, vegetables built into a turret we dismantled and placed on our plates, bits of partridge nestled in the leaves. Are they wild, I asked? Not this time of year. Wild ones leave buckshot in your mouth. Narrow, pointed red peppers, pimientos, stuffed with cod. The man had grown up during Franco's regime, his father returning from service in the Civil War. There were no jobs. He found work cutting wood, Franco's plan to build waterworks that even after all the cruelty, people see was a good deed. The man, a Spanish scholar of American Lit, then a boy, remembered how the family had moved hut to hut in the woods, building a new shelter as the cutting progressed. They lived on rabbits, lizards, and frogs. The meal and the wine went on, fish wrapped in thin strips of zucchini, fig ice cream and currants, chocolate grenache, bellota liqueur, and joy in conversation. We had gathered to talk about animals and what kind of animal we humans might be. Mother tamped down the cook fire. Father slept off the ache of labor. Love kept us alive, he said. He had heard as a boy, half asleep on forest ground, the wolves howl. Sing, I think he said, and he was not afraid. Hearing him, seeing the love, the man's name was Jesus, on his face, I thought again, maybe the animals, who were the first gods in the childhood of humanity, might be the last gods in our desanctified world. I want to read you a couple of poems from this series called Dear America that's trying to feel my way into the madness of our time. I'll read 2 or 3 of these. Are you doing all right out there? This is number 4. Dear America, please, it's time to feel the pain that underlies your cruelty and tend to it. This was 20 years ago, the cabbie said. I was riding with him to a hotel in Revere, Massachusetts. I was dancing at a club, he said, with this beautiful Venezuelan girl. This was Boston. He'd been in the city already 6 years. Puerto Rican, he said. He'd voted for Trump. What his mother keeps telling him was the worst decision of his life. So many suffering at home after the storm. Without water or power. Venezuela helped, Brazil helped. Nothing from the US, he said. I told him, I live in Arizona. So much suffering on the border. His mother, he said, says God doesn't want people to suffer like that. That night in the club, he said, agents burst in, started rounding up people. The Venezuelan was terrified. My 9-year-old daughter is home sleeping, she whispered. I can't let them take me. He whispered back, whatever they ask you, just say yes. Just say yes. He took her hand and walked up to the agents. Are you a citizen? Yes, he said. I'm Puerto Rican, and this is my wife. Yes, she said. He held her hand. He saw her years later. She whispered, you saved my life. Five, Dear America, Let's take the ferry to the Statue of Liberty. Let's spread our beach blankets out beneath the chains cut from her unshackled feet. Let's bring the Coke and Sprite and Arizona iced tea. Let's share potato salad and taquitos, hot dogs and tofurkey. Let's sing the song we learned in high school and mean it. Send these and I lift and golden shores. Bring your service dog and parakeet, your grandmother and the neighbor you dislike. Bring Kavanaugh, McConnell, Hannity, Ingraham. Tell them they can wear no makeup and no suit, and they can't say a word. But they must eat what's given and give thanks with a nod. They must do the dishes and clean up the trash. They must count how many dandelions have bloomed in the grass, how many gulls have stopped by for a snack. Hey, everyone, let's quiet them, the voices that deceive and suppress and betray and lie. Let's show them what language is for by making them hungry to connect. I know some of you will want them to be your friends. That's not their job. Their job is to come to the picnic and help clean up the mess. All right, one more poem. I'm going to take you to ancient Greece. Would you rather go to Mycenae or Delphi? Delphi. Everybody wants to go to Delphi. All right, let's go to Delphi. Mount Parnassus. Let's go to Delphi. So Delphi, as you know, the women were the prophets, but of course they were drugged on these toxic gases, so they spoke in nonsense language, and it took the priests to interpret what they were saying, and whatever. Let's not romanticize the ancient wisdoms, but anyway, let's respect them. So this is Delphi. I went with my son, my grandson Raymond, and he had done a semester abroad in Bhutan, and so he had a sense of Buddhist practice. That probably comes up at the end of the poem. You might want to know that. So here we are at Delphi. Our guide shared the story of a prophecy. The queen told her 2 sons, the brother who kisses his mother first will be king. One fell, the other stood and kissed her. She chose the fallen one. Why, the other protested, when I kissed you first? Yes, but your brother kissed Mother Earth. It's a good story to tell at Delphi, where it took a woman to inhale the vapors rising from a crack in the hide of ragged Mount Parnassus and speak truth to priests, though her words were unintelligible. So they made up what they wanted to hear and called it prophecy. No matter. Walking among these ruins, rock nuthatches singing loud all around, it's impossible not to feel the importance to the ones who prayed and the ones who paid for the privilege of asking questions there at the omphalos, where the surface opens to the depths. Goats first identified the spot dancing drunk in the fumes. You can feel the weight of time, layered like sedimentary rock, Gaian worship to Pythian serpent, to Apollo, that god of order, harmony, and music, who had to spend 8 years as a mortal to be cleansed after killing the python who guarded the site, all buried under stone, the old beliefs, so lost that peasants built the village of Castri out of the sanctuary's rubble, even its location unknown for centuries, that excavations only began in 1892. If not for the persistence of stories, the dig would never have begun. No pick or shovel, no fox hair brush, no slow reveal, no astonishment at what the excavations exposed. Art as healing grace. Ray and I arrived at the Temple of Apollo from our separate walks in the ruins, sat on the stone wall. It was nothing we'd planned or discussed. I saw him rest his palms upturned on his knees, and I met his gesture with my own. We sat that way at a distance, in quiet, palms raised, ready to receive. the light that might fall into them from that elevated air. Thank you.
About one more big round of applause for Sally and for Alison for warming us up with their poems. Books are for sale in these two areas. Come up and speak with these poets. We'll hope we'll see you back here next week on Thursday night for Robert Pinsky. Thanks for coming tonight, everybody. We'll see you soon.